Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some more Osu Mania 4 Key World Cup 2023 action. We've got our second match of finals coming up right here. It is another losers bracket match between Brazil and Indonesia. The winner of this match will move on to face off against Thailand, who just won an amazing match that went to tiebreaker earlier against Japan. But now it is all about this match. I am Toph Daddy, joined by Sparky. How's it going?
It is going absolutely fantastic. What a match we had earlier today to kick off finals weekend. Thailand coming out on top by a margin of 7-6 to punch their ticket into top 4. Not done with the weekend just yet. Gonna face off against the winner of this match. And oh boy, what a matchup we have for you guys today. Brazil going up against Indonesia. Brazil no stranger to finishing in these podium positions. Indonesia looking to try and become the first roster from their country to make it to top 4 and potentially make a podium spot next weekend.
Yeah, but there's a long path ahead for both of these teams. They still have to win 2 full matches in order to make it into that top 3 spot. And you mentioned Brazil, very well known to be in those top 3 positions. I don't remember the last time they weren't top 3.
It's been a significantly long time. It feels like they are borderline perennial podium finishers at this point.
I genuinely think the last time Brazil didn't make top 3 was 2015.
Oh boy, that's what, second iteration of this tournament. They have been a
powerhouse. So. Not to mention that they got top 4 that year. So they were right there, ready to go. So Brazil's been on their game for a long time.
Absolutely, but that doesn't count out Indonesia here, actually managing to pull a roster together that has been quite a formidable force throughout this tournament. Going up against some of the best teams and coming out on top here, now facing probably their toughest test this tournament so far. And right now we are just waiting on the rolls. It's going to be very interesting to see what the approaches from these two countries are going to be, because I think we've had conversations, at least in the background, as to what the overall skill ceiling for both of these countries could potentially be. And I think that's going to be put to the test on this map pool in particular.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's so much to talk about because both of these teams have, I would imagine that both of these teams are going to be pretty comfortable on pretty much everything compared to each other. Maybe not comfortable on the maps themselves, but they're in a position where it's I think any of these maps could be really close. I think the only thing that might end up a little bit favored to one team is the SVs, which I think Brazil might have a little bit of an advantage on. But even then, you're just that'll just end up being 1 point, even if that's the case. And I still think Indonesia would have the power to, put that practice in, put the work in, and, potentially even take that SV point back. So I would be very nervous if I was any one of these players.
Yeah, for sure. All these points are going to be very contentious, especially when we get past the probably one surviving SV chart. But even then, that one's even not that free when you think about it. It's definitely reached a point where the overall overlap of both the skill sets of these teams is basically becoming a singular circle because of the fact that they cover each other's bases so well. It's really just going to come down to which team has the 3 players with enough mental fortitude to make it through these maps relatively unscathed. And it looks like we have the protects coming through here. LN1 getting protected as well as Desert After Tears.
Yeah, so Rice 3, LN1 getting the protects. Indonesia will get the first ban after losing that role. SV2 gets banned out, unfortunately. And Brazil will end up banning out, I imagine. Ooh, I don't actually know what to expect. I would see Rice 7 getting banned out here.
Yeah, potentially. Maybe not wanting to get into a bit of a Rice battle. I think Brazil's found a lot of their success in this hybrid LN pool this tournament go round. I know they have some very strong late game LN players in their roster, so maybe wanting to keep the bulk of that map pool as available as possible. Maybe something like Rice 4 could be a contentious pick, getting rid of that core jack oriented Rice chart.
Yeah, I could absolutely see something like that coming out as a protect. It's just like this rice pool is so difficult. I don't think it would be, out of pocket for Brazil to ban any of the rice. Though this is Brazil, they love proving me wrong.
Absolutely. I think we always make that joke whenever we're on the cast together that the players love to make fools of both of us in particular, but Brazil has a really good knack of kind of tossing the script out when it comes to making some of their picks. Leads to some very interesting results, but...
Okay, we're not seeing a weird ban here. Rice 2, Strong 280 gets banned out there. I'm not too surprised to see that, especially after seeing Desert After Tears get protected by Indonesia. I could absolutely see Brazil maybe looking at that and being like, oh, maybe they like Jump Stream. Let's just get rid of that.
Yeah, very fair, basically counter ban to kind of limit that pool a little bit. Maybe Indonesia tipping their hand inadvertently with that protect. But with that being said, it is going to be Brazil up to pick first to start this match off. Would not be surprised if we saw something like SV1 come out right out of the gates.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before, but getting those SV maps out of the way early is, I think, definitely beneficial, regardless of whether you're good or not at SVs. Mm-hmm. Just because you can get the SV map, which otherwise, like in the middle of the match, would really cut off momentum. Even if you win that really hurts your momentum with like stamina and your ability to keep yourself warm. So I think that would make sense as a first pick from Brazil.
Yeah, but with that being said, they do have the full breadth of this map pool to choose from. The LNs and hybrids making it through unscathed this go around. I always like to say that if SV is not on the table, LNs usually become the next point of contention for a lot of teams. And it looks like it is going to be the immediate protect getting chosen here.
That's an interesting one. Not to mention, you have the LN1 coming out. I almost wouldn't have expected Brazil to start off with LNs, even if they weren't going into SVs. Historically, Brazil is maybe the best hybrid team ever. So, I would almost think that they were going to go in that direction, even though they did protect LN1. But, getting that protect out of the way, wanting to start this match on the right foot, wanting to feel comfortable with what they're doing, I think this makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, especially when this match is going to be a bit of a marathon between these two countries. They are very evenly matched against each other. I imagine breakpoints are going to come at a premium if we don't make it all the way through the 13 maps ahead of us. It's going to be separated by maybe thousands, if not hundreds of points at times. And whoever blinks first is going to be on the losing end of a lot of these maps.
Yeah, but we see two players in for Brazil. I imagine Demi-Fiend's coming in for that last slot. I can't imagine anyone else being the third player for Brazil.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yeah,
there it is. No, they left again.
They were just playing around with the lobby slots, yeah.
Yeah. Ontipakasi, Nisha Labyrinth, and Bad HD player being in for Indonesia. Looks like this is going to be the set of teams for Brazil and Indonesia on map number 1 out of a possible 13. This match could go a long way, so these players better be ready for the long haul.
And right now, just the final preparations from our referee, just making sure everybody's ready. MP Star Command comes out, and we're going to get into LN1 here. Good luck to both teams, and let's see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and here we go. Just waiting for everyone to load in, getting the client all caught up to everything. Looks like everyone's there. Just looks like we'll be able to get started on LN1. Starting off with a timely, a little bit of a bold move from the Brazilian side. Early on, no one finding any issues as we approach that 400 combo mark. The accuracy does seem to favor Brazil just slightly with that insane accuracy at the intro from Demi-Fiend. Everyone else kind of on the same line, though a miss early from Ontipakasi is going to help extend that lead for Brazil early on.
Yeah, bad HD player also following it up with the miss as well. Nisha Labyrinth, the only player on Indonesia with a full combo going out of this first quarter of the chart. Everybody on the side of Brazil hanging on to their FCs, putting on an incredible show on this chart so far. Most of all, Demi-Fiend, who has been a monster on LNs for the past basically 2 years now, really coming to a forefront here on this first chart.
I just don't know how you hold that kind of accuracy on a map like this. The releases are all over the place. Not to mention that the physicality is not that easy to deal with, though. That's a miss. Kind of cursing Demi-Fiend there. But I want to say that Brazil should still hold on to the lead here, even with that miss, based on their accuracy advantage. Bad HD player a little behind, but that is actually going to be a traded miss there from Nisha Labyrinth. And Brazil definitely going to hold on to the lead now that Demi-Fiend is back above 400 combo.
Yeah, it's the one good thing about finding drops on a chart like this is the fact that it's so densely packed with all the notes going on at the time that getting up with that 400 combo cap is relatively easy, so you don't really bleed too many points. But with all 3 full combos gone from the side of Indonesia, the recovery run doing pretty good so far. Everybody hovering in around that 99.4 mark as Le Marcinho joins the drops as well. Only Silly, the FC, remaining in the lobby. As we continue on into the last third of the chart, it is still about 6,000 points in favor of the Brazilians, but this is still a very catchable lead for Indonesia here. Not done just yet.
Yeah, 6,000 points maybe could be made up even with one miss from the Brazilian side, and we still have a good quarter of the map left. But that's a miss in the break from Nisha Labyrinth. That's both of their misses in the break. Very unfortunate from them, but that will help Brazil have a little bit more cushion room going into this final chorus.
Yeah, but with a quarter of the chart left to go, it's still not that safe for Brazil. They definitely need to overperform on this last section as the density picks up once again. The releases get so hard to manage, and Silly Fangirl does find the drop here, but it is traded back by bad HD player. No harm, no foul at the end of the day. That trade helps Brazil maintain their 10,000 point lead for the moment as Antimikasi finds the next drop, and that might be the final nail in the coffin for any potential comebacks from the Indonesians here.
Indeed, a good first pick from Brazil there, and they're going to bring it 1-0, moving into Indonesia's pick now. And I can't imagine they don't just go straight into Rice here. You don't want to let Brazil get momentum, ever.
Yeah, for sure. This basically pebble rolling down the hill can quickly become a unstoppable avalanche if you don't stem it too quickly. I would not be surprised if we saw the instant back-to-back protects come out and Indonesia goes something like Desert After Tears here.
Yeah, just get those protects out of the way. I could also see, I could really see any of the Rice picks. I think Rice 4 is maybe the least likely in that case, but everything else feels like a possibility as far as Indonesia is concerned.
Yeah, for sure. Rice 4 is probably going to be that break in case of emergency button for Indonesia as we get deeper and deeper into this match, and it is going to be Rice 1. So Bokura no 16-bit war is going to come out here for Indonesia's first pick, going a bit of a speed map here.
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting pick. I didn't play these maps, but during the showcase, it was mentioned that the BPM of this is about 366-ish for the streams, and the patterns aren't too bad. Like, they're pretty straightforward. I would imagine that Brazil might be more comfortable on this than almost anything else in the Rice pool. It's a little awkward to think about that, though. Indonesia will likely also be very comfortable on something like this.
Yeah, it's probably one of those picks where you kind of want to rip the band-aid off early, just really test the waters as to how high that Brazilian physical ceiling can get on something like this because of that BPM difference compared to some of the other maps. And when you do crank up the speed that high, misreading on patterns and potentially dropping extra accuracy from that becomes a really big point of contention, and Indonesia is probably looking to try and capitalize on something like that happening to Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't doubt that. And we're getting into that. We see Netru coming in for Demi-Fiend, actually. This is the first time I've seen this player come in for the Brazilian side.
Yeah, Netru, a very physical Rice player. Doesn't doesn't surprise me all that much. They have been showing out in some later pools of other tournaments that they have participated in. So probably just complimenting Le Marcino and Silly Fangirl, just rounding out this roster. Meanwhile, we have Albert, Nisha Labyrinth, and Bad HD player on the Indonesian side looking to try and maintain parity here as we get into the second map of this best of 13.
Absolutely, and players shouldn't have too much issue getting to that 400 count with this intro. Very, very easy compared to what we'll end up seeing once the streams start up. And, you know, there's not really much to say up to this point. It's just kind of predicting up until right about now when the streams start. Well, kind of.
The
song likes to trick you a lot in this one. I forgot that this was here.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a primer for what is to come, and everybody managing to get through this introduction relatively unscathed. Everybody basically up in that 99.9% mark bar. Albert, who's actually finding a bit of an active drop, and Nisha Labyrinth finds the miss as well. Now traded back by the Brazilians, and they're going to be able to take this and run with it for the moment as they increase that lead to about 10,000 points right out of the gate here, going to the back half of the chart.
Yeah, actually, it looks like the accuracy overall heavily favoring the Brazilian side here with Albert and Nisha Labyrinth well below the three players on Brazil. Bad HD player, the only one fending them off right now, and that accuracy advantage and the miss from Nisha Labyrinth definitely helping. But Silly Fangirl finding the first drop for Brazil, and that's going to bring it a little bit closer. A little bit of an unfortunate time to drop there, as Indonesia's going to get some free score out of this easier section here before we transition back into some more streams.
Yeah, Nisha Labyrinth has
made
that recovery run.
What is going on? Why is this so close?
The overall accuracy from Brazil has dropped by about a full 0.1% as we make our way further into this chart. And Silly Fangirl finds Nisha trading back and forth here in this last eighth of the chart. It is still in favor of the Brazilians as 2 FCs still stand for them. But right now it is coming down to the wire. Anybody blinks this late could cost them the point, but it looks like they might have done enough here.
I think they have, and Brazil will take the first break point of the match by 3,700 points there. So close, running off the back of those two misses from both Silly Fangirl and Nisha Labyrinth for FCs, and it's just an accuracy game at that point.
Yeah, that's the other half of the double-edged sword that Indonesia is probably going to be playing with in this match on those rice picks. The fact that Brazil has enough firepower in their reserves to basically match them. They need to play these absolutely cleanly, and they almost did. Only 2 misses on the side of Nisha Labyrinth. That could have been a 990k score to help bolster this Indonesian score, but unfortunately not going to come to fruition here, and Brazil ends up being the beneficiaries, picking up that breakpoint, the potential to capitalize to make it 3-0 right out of the gate here as they go into LN2.
Not so sure I like this pick from Brazil. They were pretty comfortable on LN1. I would have imagined that LN4 or something like that comes out.
Yeah, but I think we know from experience, Brazil likes to kind of play with fire with their picks. So, I mean, if they were going to bank on this hybrid LN pool, I mean, they would have voluntarily probably gone into this of their own volition. So, better to get it out of the way early. Now that you have that break point in the back pocket, than in a situation where you're maybe on the back foot a little bit.
For sure, and I imagine Demi Fiend's coming back in for the Brazilian side. The 3 players on Indonesia staying in Albert, Nisha Labyrinth, and a Bad HD player, which makes sense. But this is going to be an interesting pick because it's kind of in that same zone as Rice 1, where it is on a little bit on the easier side as far as like the LN pool itself goes. At least for players who aren't as comfortable with long nodes. This is definitely the most approachable of the long node picks for a Rice-based team. And I could absolutely see Indonesia putting a show on and, you know, really giving Brazil a run for their money on this map.
Yeah, for sure. I think no better point to that than with Albert staying in for somebody like Onto Bikasi, who's really come in for the more technical LN charts. Unless there is going to be a last-second substitution here on the side of Indonesia.
No, I think Bad HD player just accidentally left the lobby.
It happens. You hit the escape key. I mean, to be fair, the fingers are so jittery.
Yeah. I've done that a fair few times. I remember a couple of times when, you know, you just exit out of a map in like one of these tournaments and you're like spamming the escape key and you just leave the lobby.
Yeah, just full on get out of there. But it looks like all 6 players on screen are going to be going up against each other on this third map of this best of 13. It is going to be Kamiari algorithm coming out here for Brazil for an opportunity to capitalize on that breakpoint. Indonesia looking to try and get that one back as soon as possible to try and right the ship a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely going to want to do that as soon as possible. We mentioned earlier, but you really, really do not want to give Brazil too much momentum or they will take that and run with it. And this is definitely going to be the kind of map that Indonesia can halt that momentum if they're able to perform well on this.
Yeah, it's just coming down to whether or not they can overcome the brick wall that is this Brazilian LN roster. Has been a formidable force for quite some time, but Lemarcinho actually finding the first drop before that 400 combo cap and is going to give Indonesia a bit of a lead here to work with. But Albert does trade it back here, a significantly dirtier drop compared to Lemarcinho, and Lemarcinho is now back up with that 400 combo cap and going to be able to take that lead back for Brazil here early on.
Yeah, it looks like Albert's actually having trouble holding on to any accuracy at all on this map, dropping even further down below the 99% range after getting back up to 400 combo and misses yet again. It looks like Brazil is going to start extending that lead quite quickly.
Yeah, the speed requirement for a chart like this can definitely put a little bit of strain on the fingers, especially when you put in the added LN element. Having to keep at least one key pressed down at all times does really mess with your accuracy sometimes when it comes to the releases. And now Brazil pulling away here, going into the back half of the chart. 13,000 points to their name, 2 FCs still left on the board to the 2 FCs from Indonesia, but faring a lot better in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, it does look like Albert's has been able to increase that accuracy ever so slowly, but that's a traded miss. Demifiend and Nisha Labyrinth both missing. Marcinho finding a drop as well, so that'll dig a little bit into it, but Nisha's continuing to find drops. Albert finds another one, and it's just one full combo to one right now. Bad HD player versus Silly Fangirl, but that accuracy on the Brazilian side is doing so much work for them right now.
Yeah, it's just the fact that Brazil's been able to keep these misses so much cleaner than the Indonesians for the moment. They have been reaping the benefits of that in terms of their accuracy, and it is paying off dividends in terms of score for the moment. 32,000 points to their name is going to take quite a substantial amount of help from the Brazilians to give this point back over to Indonesia, but I think they're quickly running out of time here.
Yeah, a good performance coming out of Bad HD player, but that just is not enough to overcome the gauntlet that is the Brazilian long note skill.
Oh, that being said, Demi, I think that's a bit of a hiccup on the tournament client.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. I think they might have just left a little bit early.
Yeah, that's a win for Brazil no matter what, because we can see the scores still in their favor even with Demifiend out.
Yeah, sure enough, a referee confirms
that one.
Referee confirmation. It is going to be Brazil 3-0 out of the gate here.
Someone's got to tell Demi not to leave the lobby so soon. Broke client for a little bit.
Yeah, and it does rob us of seeing that result screen from them. I am sure, based on the reactions in the lobby, just an absolute show. Despite losing the FC towards the middle part of the chart, just
Demi's accuracy is a little silly. Best 300 count by 100. Next is Bad HD player with 624. And then everyone else is up in the thousands.
That sounds about right.
And then Demi's got 3 200s, 2 100s, 3 50s, and a mix. And everyone else, there's only 2 other players with even single-digit 200s. So, I mean, that's what we expect from Demi, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Indonesia going to jump straight back up into the top half of the map pool. It is going to be Rice 7 coming out. So I'll think for a little bit of tech to maybe break up this Brazilian momentum that has begun to build up here, not wanting to opt for the more straightforward charts in maybe Rice 3 or 4. I think they've learned their lesson from Rice 1 now.
Yeah, go for the maps that are going to make it very difficult for Brazil to keep up. I think Rice 1 was by far the easiest of the Rice picks that they could have gone for, and it might have been the misstep that gives Brazil a chance to just take this match outright. But Brazil is going to run out of long no picks one way or another. They're going to have to start moving into the hybrids and SVs at some point in this match, assuming Indonesia is going to be able to keep up with the rest of the Rice picks. But it's going to have to take some momentum shifting from Indonesia to even get to that point now.
For sure, as we make our way into this fourth map of this best of 13, Brazil riding high at the moment, 3-0 to their name, looking to try and make it a fourth on Rice 7, unless Indonesia has something to say about it here.
Indeed, getting through these early bursts, the intro, kind of, as soon as this intro ends, it kind of just hits you in the face. Netru finding a break right away. And we're getting into the more difficult burst patterns with the longer jacks and the mini jacks, and no one really blinking right now on the Indonesian side. Even Netru, after that early break, is still holding very strong, building that accuracy back up after the miss, and does make it back up to the 400 combo mark, giving Indonesia a 6,000 point lead. But outside of that, accuracy is pretty consistent all over the board. Marcinian and Silly Fangirl finding a little bit of an accuracy drop, but still 5 full combos across the board right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that has been the margin for these two teams so far as we get into some of these maps. That 6,000 to 10,000 point range. And the team on the back foot hasn't really found a way to kind of claw back some of that lead. But as I say that, Albert finding the drop going into the back half of the chart. Now, it is going to shrink this lead for Indonesia for the moment. Not enough to give the lead back to Brazil, but giving something to think about as we begin the last minute or so of this chart.
Yeah, quite a clean drop there from Albert. This lead is going to be very, very small, though, as they get back up to the 400 combo. But it looks like Brazil is continuing to have a few accuracy troubles that are not plaguing Indonesia here. Netru still at the 99.5, and Marcinian actually dropping below the 99.5, whereas all of the Indonesian players still holding above 99.6 right now. And we have about a 9,000 point lead going into the final section of this map. A little time to breathe, but just jumping right back into it. Brazil's going to need a drop or two from the Indonesian side if they want any hope, but that accuracy is continuing to drop, and Indonesia is looking safer and safer as we start to approach the end.
Yeah, safe is the best word for it. It feels like they have a potential miss or two saved up in the back pocket if they do need it going into this last quarter. The density does start to ramp up, but Netru is the only person finding the drop going into this last section, and that's going to help Indonesia as Nisha Labyrinth actually does find a drop, and Albert as well joins them, but I think they have enough of a cushion now. 14,000 points, not really shifting that much in favor of the Brazilians for the moment as we make our way into the last level of the chart, already crossing that 960,000 point mark for everybody, and Indonesia is going to be able to notch their first point on the board here to make it 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely insane job by these players. A double S? Wait. What?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We're in finals. This is one of the hardest tech charts we have in this pool. And the fact that Bad HD player can V1 double S it on command here with half of the 300 count of everybody else in the lobby, that is the level of performance you need to get your team back on the right foot.
This guy's just built different.
Absolutely.
I don't know what else to say.
I mean, we keep setting the bar higher and higher every year, and every time these players find ways to clear it with enough of a gap to make our jaws drop.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if that's legal, honestly.
It's not, but they'll do it anyways. Who are we to stop them? As Brazil puts out their next pick, it is going to be LN4 coming out here. Our most original Clover.
It is our Osu original coming out. We did see Bad HD player lead the lobby, but they are back in. Albert sticking around potentially. I would almost expect Antipakasi to come back in on this, but we see Good Luck Have Fun coming out from Demi-Fiend there. And it looks like this might be the team. So Albert going to stay in for yet another long note pick here. And I think that's going to, whether Albert's going to be able to hold on to that accuracy, I think might end up making the difference here.
And right as you say that, Albert magically transforms into
Antipakasi
as if on command.
I was pretty confused there, but yeah, Antipakasi does make more sense.
Yeah, that was the smoothest transition I have ever seen two players make a swap. It was seamless.
There was never a time where no one was in that slot.
But outside of that, it will be Demi-Fiend checking back in for Brazil, unsurprisingly. You want to have your LN powerhouse available for at all times for these LN charts. Le Marcinho and Silly Fangirl are going to lend their support, but really that two-man squad of Le Marcinho and Silly Fangirl really putting in the work in these opening 5 charts. Let's see if they can continue that momentum and keep this streak of winning their own picks alive here.
Indeed. Here we go. All 6 players in that lobby for pick number 5 out of a potential 13. We do see our first mirror coming out of the match from Le Marcinho there. Might show a little bit of a discomfort overall on this map, or maybe there's just some one-handed patterns that, you know, Le Marcinho feels more comfortable with on mirror. But Silly Fangirl with an opening drop there. Accuracy was looking very favorable for Brazil in that early combo, but Indonesia going to take a small lead out of that. I imagine Brazil is going to be able to take this back with accuracy, especially now that Silly Fangirl's up to the 400 combo. But this is going to be very close out the gate for the time being.
Yeah, trending in the hundreds of points for the moment. Everybody on the side of Indonesia trending above that 99.6 mark. I feel like that's going to be basically the mark to maintain if you want to try and stay within striking distance. If you don't feel you have the accuracy potential, maybe being able to call one out in terms of combo might be the name of the game for the Indonesians as we continue on into the second quarter of the chart here. Both Le Marcinho and Demi-Fiend finding the simultaneous drop, and the lead's immediately going to shift over to the side of Indonesia off the back of all 3 of their FCs remaining intact as Le Marcinho finds another drop here, going to help bolster this lead for the Indonesians now on this chart going into the second third here. It is a 9,000 point lead in their favor.
Yeah, that is 3 full combos for Indonesia versus 0 on the side of Brazil. The accuracy is still probably in favor of Brazil. We're actually seeing a little bit of an issue. Traded misses. Marcinho and Bad HD player both finding drops there. Another traded miss from the same 2 players, Ontipakasi and Nisha Labyrinth, staying intact for the time being, but that accuracy actually is starting to shrink that lead. It's getting smaller, and we still have just about half of this map left to go. If Brazil holds on, I could definitely see this getting absurdly close.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire here. It's just a matter of whether or not Brazil can maintain the combos that they have started to build up here. Indonesia doing everything in their power to basically maintain this lead that they have. This is a golden opportunity for them to break a point from the Brazilians on an LN chart. The name of the game for them is probably going to be stay in this rice pool for as long as humanly possible. They can get one of these points back, especially with what happened on Rice 1. It's going to do wonders for their mentality as Le Marcinho finds another drop here going to the last quarter of the chart.
Yeah, we're still seeing 2 full combos on the side of Indonesia. This lead is still not that big, considering how many times that the Brazilian side has dropped combo, but it really is all on the back of the accuracy advantage. But the accuracy advantage is not going to mean anything if you're not able to consistently hold on to the combo. Indonesia looking very strong as we hit the final 10th of this chart.
Oh, it is ridiculous what Nisha Labyrinth and Ontipakasi are doing as Demi-Fiend and Silly Fangirl both fall, not traded back here from the side of Indonesia. Bad HD player doing everything that they can to build up their combo as well, being able to lend their support to this 2-man battering ram that is Ontipakasi and Nisha Labyrinth. As this chart comes to an end, they're going to hold on to the full combos here, and Indonesia takes a break point on LNs against the Brazilians to make it 3-2 now.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And on a rare occasion, we actually see Bad HD player with the best ratio there. Just having those 2 misses, but very consistent scores across Indonesia. And that was definitely what helped them take that victory on LN4. And that's going to be a break point. And we're one good pick from Indonesia away from being all evened up.
Right, you are. And now the question becomes, what does Indonesia pick here to potentially tie things up as we approach this mid-game portion of this match? I think Rice 3 and 4 are out of the question for right now. They're probably going to want to go for Tech, and Rice 5 is going to be the pick.
Indeed it is. Our quintessential Terminal 11 pick here. Brain Dead coming out.
Yeah, this is a very abrasive chart to read through. And, I mean, Indonesia found a lot of success on overcomplexification to get their first point on the board. If they can repeat that level of performance on this, then we go into what essentially becomes a first of 4, best of 7 situation.
Indeed, but Indonesia has to perform on their own pick here in order to do that. They looked pretty comfortable on the previous Rice pick we saw in Rice 7, but they're going to have a matching performance here.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have the substitutions. Albert and Netro checking in for their respective countries to round out these Rice-oriented rosters for both countries.
Indeed, we are Metro back into the lobby, just waiting for that MP start command, making sure all the players are ready.
Yeah, one of the longer charts in this pool. Surprised it's one of the tech picks. Gonna be a test both physically and mentally as you continue on. There's so many abrasive patterns you need to read through that if you find yourself kind of lackadaisically moving along through the chart, you can find yourself bleeding so much accuracy if you're not too careful.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Waiting for Silly Fangirl to ready up. We got the MP start command though. And here we go into pick number 6. Right here, Indonesia trying to even up this match here. Brazil looking to get another break point to keep the edge in the match. Interestingly enough, no SVs yet. But we'll have to have that discussion after this now that Brazil has given up a long note point. But here we go, brain dead, all 6 players in, going. Immediately 2 breaks from Lamarcinho and Nisha Labyrinth, a third from Netro. And we've already seen 3 full combos broken, 3 left, 2 on Indonesia's side, 1 on Brazil from Silly Fangirl, and an early lead given to Indonesia off the back of those breaks. And Silly Fangirl actually completing the trio of misses on Brazil, only 2 left on Indonesia's side, and 0 for Brazil.
Yeah, it's very interesting seeing players getting caught out from this introduction, but it is a sign of things to come potentially. You wonder who is going to be able to basically stabilize from those early drops here. You imagine the accuracy is going to start to get built up all across the board as we continue on here. It is Bad HD player with the highest accuracy in this lobby by a long shot, 99.8 for them almost. As we make our way through this first quarter, there's still quite a lot of chart to slog through here.
Yeah, so still lots of opportunities for a comeback and score from Brazil. And keep in mind that all 3 of the Brazilian players missed before the 400 combo mark. So from here on out, misses will matter more than the 3 misses that we saw from the Brazilian squad.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to make massive dents one way or the other to the lead. And as we continue on, going into the second third of the chart now, it is 10,000 points in favor of the Indonesians for the moment. As people start to read through some of these more abrasive patterns, Bad HD player actually going to be falling from their perch down to the level of everybody else. And that's a pretty significant drop to find as the lead immediately gets halved to about 4,000 points here.
Yeah, definitely not the cleanest drop we could have seen from Bad HD player, dropping about 0.1% from that one drop, but getting back up to the 400 combo level, and Indonesia back with the higher accuracy overall as we hit the halfway point. We have a 5,000 point lead for them, but 1 or 2 more misses from Indonesia can definitely swing it over to the Brazilian side. If we are to see that, we're down to just 1 full combo, and that's a huge drop from Nisha Labyrinth. And I think that might give Brazil a tiny lead.
Yeah, because in all of this, Silly Fangirl and Netro are actually starting to build up their accuracy enough to contest against the likes of Albert and Bad HD player. Lamarcinho bring up the rear just a little bit here, but able to keep Nisha Labyrinth at bay now that they've fallen into their clutches, and it is now a slim 1,000 point lead as Bad HD player finds another drop here, and that's another very significant one. Your highest accuracy player finding the drops bleeds so many more points as opposed to your lowest accuracy player finding the misses, and it is going to be to Brazil's benefit for the moment, not trading it back now. All 3 players now with a very massive combo to work with going into the last quarter.
Bad HD player hitting the 400 combo now. 7,000 points is the advantage for Brazil as we hit the final few patterns of this map. Still can't take your eyes. Ooh. Is that client?
I think that's client. Gonna wait to see if it builds up again. It does take a couple of moments, but I don't see it recovering. That might be an organic miss from Lamarcinho here. Having to rebuild their combo gives Indonesia a slight window to work with.
So close.
It
I
is
don't know if any
1,400
misses
points.
are going to happen. It could swing over.
Are there enough notes? It is.
I'm holding my
Nobody
breath.
is allowed to drop 200 points. As we continue on, last couple of patterns, there are no more real tricks left up this map sleeve. There are only a couple notes to work with. Got to keep the accuracy pristine.
Hit the
It is 500
points. Brazil eking that one out, and bad HD player with only 200. The FC from Albert, but it's not enough. Brazil takes another break point.
That is... Oh my goodness. There are no words to describe how heart and mouth that was if you are a Brazilian supporter. That is about as fine a line you can toe. If there were just maybe 20 more notes in that map, if there was maybe like 5 more seconds to play through, that could have easily swung in favor of Indonesia. Ashley Marcinho made it to that 400 combo cap in the nick of time to keep the point in their favor, and the break point goes back over to Brazil. It is 4-2.
It is 4-2. Brazil will get their own pick. They still have LN3, but we're looking at a timeout. I think that's a completely understandable use for the timeout. A 500-point victory, get the momentum back in your favor. Let your players calm down a little bit. Make sure you have the right pick to not lose that momentum. This is a very scary position for Indonesia to be in, but we all have already seen them take an LN point from Brazil. We've seen them be pretty strong on the Rice overall, so those hybrids are going to be a little bit of a risk for Brazil to go for. And we haven't seen anyone pick SVs yet. Even with Indonesia banning SV2, Brazil staying away from the SVs for the time being. There's not a lot you can feel comfortable picking on either side.
Yeah, for sure. And I think both these teams have basically made it past the point of scoping each other out. They have both landed some pretty serious blows to the other side, and they have been answered back basically each time, notwithstanding the couple of breakpoints that Indonesia has given over. But they have been able to find a couple in response, but giving over Rice 7, that was arguably one of their best opportunities to notch things up. I mean, Rice 6 is still left on the board, but if Brazil can put together a performance maybe a little bit more convincing than Rice 7, but they did just enough. All that matters at the end of the day is that your team score is higher than the opponent's. You can worry about your PBs and your practice scores later.
Indeed. We have the timeout timer starting.
Yeah, and I think this is really just to regain the composure, because that was about as nail-biting as you can get, notwithstanding the shenanigans that happened last week on, what was it, Matt Silver?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one.
No, that's for last weekend. If you missed last weekend, please watch what happened last weekend after this match, because there were some very silly moments.
There were lots
of
very silly moments. On a couple of maps. There were some good times on Hall and some good times on Matt Silver.
For sure. It is a wonder what these players can push each other to do. As we continue on with this timeout, we can maybe take some time to deliberate. What is the point of attack for Brazil? We know LN3 is still left on the table. SV1 is probably going to be a potential closer for the Brazilians as we continue on, or if things start to get a little out of hand and Indonesia starts finding points, maybe they use that as a bit of a palate cleanser reset button for the match overall.
Yeah, I don't really know. I could again see Brazil going for the hybrids as well. Yes. They did just lose a long note pick. They might not want to go right back into that. I could see Cold Fusion coming out as a pick from Brazil. It's kind of hard to say which hybrid. Cold Fusion feels like a decent pick, but it is very physically demanding.
Yeah, and then you have stuff like Jean and Makiar. I imagine you go with the mapper you feel most comfortable reading the patterns of. You got Guri, you got Lemon Guy, you got Min. Sure, there are some collaborations in between here and there, but overall, what style of hybrid do you want to go for if you do opt to go into that? But it is going to be LN3, so going to round out this LN pool for the time being.
Yep, rounding out the LN pool, finishing it off, hoping that they don't give up a breakpoint like they did on long note 4. This one definitely a little bit of a different style of long notes than what we were seeing in LN4. So could be a nice reset back into the momentum for Brazil. We see Nisha Labyrinth coming back in, Bad HD player in, Albert currently in. I could see Albert staying in for this.
Potentially, but it is going to be onto Bikasi instead. And probably going to see Bad HD player come back in before too long, maybe just taking a second to see potential settings, maybe scroll speed, if they played with mirror or not on something like this. And sure enough, the 3 cornerstones for Brazil on these LN charts, Demi, Silly, and Le Marcinho, going to be staying in to try and make this 5-2, really turn the screw on Indonesia for the moment.
Indeed, we've got all 6 of our players in. Looks like we're just waiting for that MP start command to come through. Indonesia's got to put up a stand. This is kind of where it's got to be. They were able to do it earlier. They got to do it again now that they've lost another breakpoint to Brazil.
Yeah, for sure. There's very little room for error at this point. They have maybe a tiny bit of wiggle room here and there, but they're going to need to start getting some of these points back, as well as not bleeding over any more of their own if they want to try and get themselves back into this. Definitely possible, but needs to start now.
Definitely it does. Got some simpler patterns here in the intro as the players start to build up towards that early 400 combo. No one having any issues in this intro. Looks like Brazil holding on to a small accuracy lead there out of the beginning patterns of this. As you know, we have seen from most of the long note picks, but not too big. Everyone able to get to 400 combo without any issues. We're getting to the bursts now, and no major drops from anyone. Onto Bikasi, a little bit lower than everyone else right now, but still within striking range if some issues come up for Brazil. And we do see some accuracy drops from Silly Fangirl and Marcinho. And this lead is basically nothing now.
Yeah, for sure. They're playing tug of war with the leaderboard for the moment here as everybody starts to even out in terms of accuracy. 99.5, 99.6, really the margins to work with. Both Silly Fangirl, Le Marcinho, onto Bikasi, Bad HD player, all duking it out. The outliers right now, Demi and Nisha Labyrinth on the right-hand sides of both countries' lobbies right now, really putting in the bulk of the work, trying to maintain as high an accuracy as they can. But Nisha Labyrinth actually finding a bit of an accuracy drop, trades it in favor of Bad HD player, now bringing that up to that 99.7 mark, trying to contest against Demi-Fiend, but we're already in the last third, and on the transition onto Bikasi finds the drop. This is the opening Brazil needed to start to pull away here.
Indeed it is, and we see about a 12,000 point lead. A little bit dropping a little bit now that we've got that 400 combo from onto Bikasi. Le Marcinho trades it, but Nisha Labyrinth also finds a break, so that's 2 breaks to 1. Silly Fangirl and Demi-Fiend holding onto the FCs for Brazil going into the final bits of this map. Bad HD player trying to do everything they can, but Nisha finds yet another drop, and Brazil looking very strong going into the ending of this right now. 18,000 points of lead.
Yeah, and I was going to say when we got into the chart, it's really going to come down to if Brazil's heavy hitters can maintain the consistency to make it through a map like this unscathed. And sure enough, they were put to the test and they answered it with flying colors. Demi-Fiend finds the drop at the end. Unfortunate to lose the full combo, but the point is secured. It is going to be 5-2 in favor of the Brazilians.
It is indeed. Indonesia's going to have a chance to pick their own map here. They have a few Rice picks left. I imagine Rice 6 would be the go, or maybe they're Protect. I could see them going Rice 3 here as well.
Yeah, Rice 3.
And there it is.
Feels like as good a time as any to pull that out. They were very good on Rice 1, which really needed a calm head and a lot of consistency, and there's no more consistent a chart than Rice 3 here. Desert After Tears. Gonna be a bit of a stamina test for the players, clocking in at just shy of 4 minutes, but it is basically just once you start, you never let your foot off the gas.
Yeah, that is definitely the case here. We see Demi swap out. I imagine Netra's going to come out again. Albert does swap in for Indonesia as well. Indonesia looking to get this point back, get some kind of, motion forward, trying to keep themselves in this match. And, Brazil in a position now where if Indonesia is able to bring it back on the rice, they no longer have LN picks. So Indonesia, if they're able to win this, would put a lot of pressure on Brazil.
Yeah, for sure. It's really going to come down to Brazil maybe taking one more of these rice breakpoints. But if they can squeak one out on the hybrids, they do have the SV in the back pocket to work with. That being said, the fact that they've waited this long to pull it out, maybe just paying a tiny bit of respect to Indonesia. This is the SV pool from here on out gets really hard to maintain consistent scores on, that it could end up being a bit of a toss-up that they don't want to get into, similar to how Rice 4 kind of plays out with the core jack picks, where any little thing can go wrong and that just throws the entire team score out the window.
And here we go. We've got our 4-minute gauntlet here of 268 BPM jump stream. Really awkward patterns, really stamina draining patterns. A nice intro though. Get you a little bit ready for the blast that is coming for you very soon.
Yeah, its introduction very deceptive in how it appears, because it basically plays like a very simple chart. It's a false flag for what is to come, because the patterns start to get very dense to read through. As you can see here, it's a very slow transition, but once you're in, you are in for a ride, and you need to keep that accuracy as high as humanly possible. Misses are basically not allowed on a chart like this as we wait for the client to get everything synced up once again. I imagine that was a client miss as Albert's combo comes back up here in 6 FCs on the board, separated by maybe tenths of a point, but Nisha finding a drop very early on here.
Indeed, that is one full combo broken for the side of Indonesia there as they start to build back up to the 400 combo. It looks like about a 3,000 point advantage given over to the Brazilian side. And despite that, we're back up to the 400, and it looks like the accuracy on the Indonesian side is good enough. They should start bleeding that back, and Silly Fangirl going to find the first break for Brazil and give that leader right back to the Indonesian side as we hit the second quarter of this map.
Yeah, for sure. So one drop a piece, but I think Indonesia has the accuracy advantage for the moment as Netro joins Silly Fangirl in losing their full combos. Only Le Marcinho standing on the side of Brazil. That being said, the drops are relatively clean, still above that 99.7 mark, so it doesn't hand too much of a lead for Indonesia. But on a chart like this where the misses are going to be at a premium, this 7,000 point lead feels more like 70,000 when you try and claw it back.
Indeed it does. We see 2 full combos still on the side of Indonesia, just 1 from Le Marcinho on the side of Brazil, but everyone's above the 400 combo mark now. As we hit a little bit of a break, it gets your breathing going again. 8,000 points in favor of Indonesia as they start to transition back into the second half where the jump stream starts up again.
Yeah, and despite that drop from earlier, Nisha Labyrinth actually building up their accuracy back up to that 99.8% mark. Albert not too far behind, both lending their support over to Bad HD players. Netro finds a couple of drops here, going to drop them down below, and Le Marcinho, the final FC to fall on the side of Brazil, as there is a full combo reset on the side of Brazil, going to help extend this lead to about 20,000 points in favor of the Indonesians going into the last third of the chart.
Yeah, now there is just so much wiggle room for the side of Indonesia. All 3 players holding exceptional combos and accuracies here. It would take, I think, a whole team breakdown. We see Labyrinth trade a miss with Marcinho, but that is going to help favor Indonesia with that better accuracy as Marcinho finds yet another drop and extends that lead for Indonesia up to 25,000. And yeah, there's not a whole lot that can be done. This map is so long. Misses are not going to be as effective on a map like this, and Indonesia's accuracy is just absolutely insane as we hit the final few jump stream patterns. And seeing this, it makes sense why Indonesia decided to protect this map.
Yeah, just oodles of stamina to burn through on a chart like this. Very good performances overall as we approach the last eighth of the chart. Basically done and dusted in favor of the Indonesians as the patterns start to lighten up a little bit. They have basically made it through the ride. 2 FCs still standing, and the light at the end of the tunnel is still there for Indonesia to try and notch things up as they will successfully make it 5-3 now.
Who's using Percy skin?
Oh boy.
Okay, no one dropped the LN, it looks like.
We shall see. This is the longest LN, and nobody dropped it.
No one dropped it. No Percy skin detected. Another double S from Bad HD player. 200s from Albert. Netro and Silly Fangirl also keeping up pretty well with Nisha Labyrinth. Liam Marcin a little bit behind in the accuracy, but that is just an absurd score from Indonesia.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a relatively straightforward chart, but a lot of things can go wrong. And even if you are putting your best foot forward, sometimes it isn't enough. But I mean, there's a reason why they protected it. They were immensely comfortable on that chart. And with that being said, it is going to be Brazil up to pick now, a chance to make it a match point situation. What do you go for here now that the LN pool is gone?
It's so risky, but I feel like SV1 might be the right pick here.
Yeah, it feels like it might be time to pull that out. I mean, if they don't, which of these hybrid picks? Oh, actually, no. SV1,
I don't have to make that. I don't have to make that prediction. They pick SV1.
Yeah, this is, I think, the more approachable of the two SV charts. I mean, to be fair, SV2 was banned out, so it didn't have much of a choice in the matter. But I think this is easier to swing a good attempt on. I was just about to say, we're probably going to see Demi-Fiend check back in for Brazil. And we're going to see Retro EX step in for Indonesia, probably ASCII Fanboy as well.
Indeed. It's like Brazil's not really swapping anyone else out. It might just be Marcinho, Silly Fangirl, and Demi-Fiend, which makes sense. They're a great SV team. It'll just be about whether Indonesia put in the time and practice to be able to, try and
learn this point.
Yeah, learn it, put pressure on Brazil, perform. We'll see what they're able to do, just waiting for that third Indonesian player.
Yeah, it's one of those like, oh, is it finally time? And waiting to get back in. Maybe just needing to get pulled in. And sure enough, the query goes out. Can they move ASCII Fanboy into the lobby? And that will be the third player for Indonesia to try and take a breakpoint on Brazil. Have done it already. And this is probably their best opportunity outside of that LN chart that they managed to pick up, because of how wild the scores can swing if you have a bad section on this chart.
Indeed. We'll have to see how these players are able to do it. We've got all 6 players and we see MP settings. Just waiting for that ready up and we'll get that MP start command. Moving into pick number 9. Brazil going with the SVs, putting a little bit of an interruption on the physicality that we've seen throughout this match, which might end up, it could help Brazil, but we see 2 players from Indonesia that haven't been playing the rest of the Rice and Long Note pool, whereas all 3 of the Brazilian players have been playing quite a few maps here. So I think this might hurt Brazil more than it'll help them, even if they win this, but we'll just have to see how they're able to perform here.
Yeah, for sure. And the triple no-fail coming out from Brazil. It's always nice to see. As we get everything loaded up here, trying to keep everything in sync.
Oh, early miss from Demi.
Looks like it. Maybe misread one of these opening patterns. Hesitation and anticipation, the name of the game on this chart. But even the potential hiccup, actually, as the combo now resets, it is still 3 FCs on the side of Brazil to work with, and a 17, almost 25,000 point now gap between the two teams, as Retro EX finding a massive accuracy drop down into the 95% range.
Indeed, and this section just destroying the accuracies onto Bakasu. Demi-Fiend does find a combo break. It's traded by Retro EX, though, and this lead is just skyrocketing with this accuracy advantage.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's very easy to find yourself messing up entire sections of this chart by the nature of all the teleports. It's very easy to just drop a ton of accuracy. And we see two players on the side of Indonesia now down into that A rank range, see if they can build it back up. But this is a very, very massive lead in favor of Brazil at the moment.
Yeah, we're halfway through this. 216,000 points. I mean, this is the kind of thing we see with SV every now and again. A team that's very good at SV is putting in practice in and just, you know, guaranteeing that point for themselves.
Yeah, it's one of the things about SV charts that if you have a team that can swing performances on them at a relatively high level, that's basically a free point in the back pocket as you approach these matches. You can basically start a match off 1-0 without even picking it. And we're seeing it come to fruition here. The lead now 330,000 points, basically in the realm of insurmountable as we make our way into the last quarter of the chart.
Indeed, just getting these last few patterns. Brazil going to be able to take this into a match point situation. Indonesia still needing to take one more break point in order to put themselves in a position to go to tiebreaker with Brazil, but Brazil keeping as much pressure off their backs as possible with this pick. It's going to be 6-2-3 going into Indonesia's pick after SV1.
Yeah, just a fantastic use of SV1 as a pick, basically securing themselves that match point situation, putting a little bit less pressure. Worst case scenario, they go into the tiebreaker, which we've already seen this weekend. So definitely don't count out Indonesia just yet, but the hill can quickly become a mountain if you make the wrong pick in this situation now.
Still have quite a few Rice picks remaining in the pool. Two in particular, Rice 4 and Rice 6. Got a tech pick and the Jack pick. I would imagine both are going to be coming out if this goes the distance regardless. No, Hybrid 3 comes out.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's... not expecting that.
Definitely not.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, but I didn't expect that.
But thinking about it, I mean, Rice 4 is a very black and white pick. Either you get a good score on it, or you just gift wrap the breakpoint to your opponent. And with Rice 6, they rolled the dice on Rice 5, they rolled the dice on Rice 7, they went 1-for-1 on it. Maybe not feeling as confident in it now as they were potentially at the start of the match. So Hybrid 3, the familiarity of this chart, even though it is cut on that rate, might be the best avenue remaining for Indonesia in terms of applying pressure and putting Brazil out of their comfort zone, quote unquote.
Absolutely. Waiting for that third player to come in for Brazil, I imagine. Actually, I don't know who comes in for this. I could see Demi or Netro being the player. But this is kind of that awkward situation where you have Demi-Fiend to be that absolute rock on long notes and Netro coming in to swap out for the Rice picks. But what do you do with hybrids?
Yeah, and that is going to be the question that Brazil needs to answer, because this could potentially be an avenue back in for Indonesia that they probably didn't even know that they had against the Brazilians. And it is going to be Demi coming in. Maybe the LN physicality requirement being enough for them to be the best pick in the situation.
Yeah, I'd almost like put this in a position where, like, if Indonesia does manage to take this pretty, like, whether it's safe or not, I could almost see Brazil maybe taking a risk on Rice 4 or Rice 6.
Yeah, and just completely flipping the script now, where Brazil's in a position to pick one of these Rice picks and Indonesia becomes the team lingering in that bottom half of the pool. This is going to be a very interesting development. All of it can go out the window in an instant if Indonesia does not put together a three-man performance for the ages here.
Absolutely all 6 players in. Bad HD player Albert, Nisha Labyrinth for Indonesia on their last legs need to win the next 4 straight to stay alive in the Oceania 4Q World Cup 2023. Brazil on match point just needs to win 1 more to move into that top 4 position for a chance to make it into grand finals. Cold Fusion coming out as pick number 10 out of a possible 13. All the stakes still live. 2 misses immediately out of Indonesia. Nisha Labyrinth and Bad HD player not getting through that. Everyone else above the 400 combo now, and that's already a huge lead because of the accuracy breaks that happened as a result. The 400 combo has been reached by Bad HD player and Nisha Labyrinth, so it's back to normal. But that is the 3rd full combo broken on the Indonesian side with Albert there. 2 full combos left for Brazil, but they should still hold on to the lead.
And the damage might already be done very early on this pick. Those are pretty significant accuracy drops from the side of Indonesia, but Lamarcino is starting to trade these back. Nisha answers with a miss of their own as well, and they are starting to feel this a little bit as
huge drops from Brazil. It's down to 4,000. No full combos left anywhere. Nisha finding a big break as well, giving Brazil a little bit more room. But Albert and Bad HD player holding on to the combos for the time being as everyone starts to build up back to 400. Brazil back to max. Albert finding a combo break, and Brazil's back in a significant lead now as we hit the halfway mark.
Oh, and there goes Bad HD player. The highest combo on the side of Indonesia falls, and it is now on the back of Nisha Labyrinth. Does get traded back by Lamarcino, but Albert responds in kind. It is 20,000 points almost in favor of the Brazilians for the moment. This hill is quickly becoming a mountain to climb for the Indonesians as we approach this last quarter of the chart, the last quarter potentially of Indonesia's tournament run, as the trades go back and forth once again. Silly and Bad HD player trading once again as we transition into the last portion of this chart. Is there enough time for Indonesia to pull this one back?
There's still plenty of difficult patterns. It's looking further and further away, but Demi does find a break. Helps get that lead a little bit shrunken. It's down to 8,000 now. It's still shrinking.
There's enough time. Demi needs to get back up with that.
Oh my goodness!
Able to. It is 1,000 points.
Oh my goodness!
At the 11th
Indonesia
hour.
takes it!
Oh my goodness.
Oh
back
my goodness!
against the wall. No room for errors. At the death of the chart, they are able to pull it through at the very end. That scoreline is going to be very deceptive when people look at the results. But Indonesia able to pull it out to make it 6-4, keep themselves alive for at least one more map. They need to get this break point.
What a pick from Indonesia. I don't really have words for that. Brazil does have a pick. They are still on match point. There are 2 rice picks left, 2 hybrid picks left. Brazil can end it here or give Indonesia another chance to bring this to tiebreaker. It is 11th pick time. This is terrifying.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was saying it before this pick came out, Indonesia might have found their avenue back into this match. Picking Hybrid 3, last roll of the dice situation, needing to get a result, and able to pull it through by the skin of their teeth. And potentially opening up the hybrids, and it's going to be Hybrid 1 for Brazil.
Okay.
They might have been pigeonholed into this hybrid pool, whether they want to or not. It is going to be Makiar coming out for Brazil to potentially end this match here and now. We were talking about Brazil building up momentum, but Indonesia, when you get them started, this two-man combo of Bad HD player and Nisha Labyrinth are very formidable on any given day, with that third person coming in to lend their assistance.
It doesn't look like we're switching out anyone here. Same teams staying in for both Brazil and Indonesia. Silly Fangirl, Marcinho, and Demi Fiend looking to lock up this match. Bad HD player Nisha Labyrinth, Albert trying to stay alive any way they can. They still need to win the next 2 and tiebreaker in order to move on through the losers bracket. Brazil again in a position they only need to win 1 of the next 3 picks. in order to make it into that top 4 slot. Hybrid 1 may be the avenue in, but we did just see Indonesia take an absolutely amazing point on Hybrid 3. So anything can still happen.
Indeed.
Oh, Marcinho with not realizing the map started.
Yeah, you gotta love it when you ghost tap the introduction. The first note comes out, but it was the first note, but it is gonna hurt their accuracy overall as they start to make that recovery climb. There are probably going to be trades. This map is incredibly difficult to read through, but Indonesia going to be the beneficiaries of a 5,000 point advantage right out of the gate here.
Absolutely. Marcinho does make it back up to the 400 combo mark pretty quickly. Those misses aren't going to be as impactful. Demi-Fiend finds the next miss, though. Only one full combo left on the side of Brazil. All three holding strong for Indonesia through this very fast jump stream section. This part, I think, would favor Indonesia, but we still have some very difficult long note patterns later on the map. But this lead is getting very large very quickly through the first third.
Yeah, but we saw a similarly large lead in favor of Brazil on Hybrid 3, and it started to quickly shrink as the map went along. There isn't that much room for error on this chart. Clocking in at just over 2 minutes. We're already halfway done here, and there haven't been any substantial drops from the side of Indonesia for the moment. They are holding strong. They're doing what they need to as Albert finds the first drop on this hard LN section, but Leo Marcinho trades it back. No harm, no foul at the end of the day.
3 full combos left, 2 for Indonesia, 1 for Brazil still. Indonesia looking very strong as more of the rice sections start to come out in this ending. Indonesia holding strong through the rice patterns. Everyone kind of holding strong as we get that big LN burst there. No one finding any issues on it, though. Everyone above the 400 combo mark now. Everyone getting max points for this combo as we come into the last quarter where things get very, very tense. And Nisha Labyrinth getting lost just a little bit in that pattern.
But I think they've done enough to...
I don't. No.
Don't want to call it
that. You can't say that. Not after the last map.
It is shrinking. It is 14,000 points in favor of the Indonesians. Leo Marcinho finds another drop on that last big LN burst. And as we make our way into the last portions of the chart, it would take a significant collapse as everybody reads it through, and Indonesia hang on once again, take a break point off the Brazilians and make it 6-5.
It is their own pick as well. They have full control over what they go into. There's 3 maps remaining in this pool. Rice 4, Rice 6, and Hybrid 2. Timeout at the perfect time for Indonesia. They still have theirs. They are still alive in the finals of this tournament and have all the power to potentially bring this to tiebreaker.
Absolutely. They control their own destiny now. There are 3 picks remaining left in this pool. And, I mean, this is the best time for them to use their timeout. We saw Brazil use theirs after that 500-point win on Rice 7. Indonesia taking this breakpoint that they crucially needed to keep themselves alive here. They need some time to deliberate what is the best avenue of approach. The hybrids have opened themselves up to be a highway to this tiebreaker. But do you trust yourself on Hybrid 2?
I honestly, maybe in Indonesia's case, you trust yourself on Hybrid 2 more than the Rice picks. Because, like, if you look at the Rice picks that were picked, Brazil won Boca and 16-Bit Wars and Brain Dead, whereas Indonesia won Overcomplex Application and Desert After Tier. So they're 2-2 on those.
Yeah.
But they're 2-0 on the hybrids right now.
Absolutely. That feels like the best justification for Hybrid 2 to come out for Indonesia. You ride the hot hand. Albert is on fire, lending their support to Bad HD Player and Nisha Labyrinth. It feels like a spark has been ignited in this Indonesian roster after Cold Fusion came out. It's just felt like there's been a shift in the overall match feeling, where Brazil's hanging on right now, trying to find an answer for what has been their strong point. Hybrid LN has been what Brazil has rode on, and basically they take their rice points every now and again when the opportunity presents itself. But now, what do you do when your opponent's able to match you on what you want to pick?
Yeah, ultimately, though, okay, you also have to keep in mind. So, Brazil went with hybrid 1. That means that that's probably the hybrid they feel the most comfortable with between hybrid 1 and hybrid 2. Indonesia beat them by 20,000 points on that. If Brazil is not that comfortable on hybrid 2, I would be thinking immediately, like, if we are able to do that on the one they're comfortable with, we should be confident in the one they're not. Right. I could definitely see hybrid 2 coming out as the primary pick here.
Yeah, there's so many variables to consider when making this final pick. And I mean, if you're on the side of Brazil, it happens so often in tournaments where that final point becomes the hardest point in the world to secure, because of the fact that the nerves that come with clinching sometimes become too much to bear. And if your opponent's able to answer back on some picks, imagine if LN2 went the other way, or was it LN4? I already lost track at this point. One of the LNs.
LN4 was Indonesia's victory in the long no pool.
If that had gone the way of Brazil, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Right. They would have won 7-4, and we wouldn't be thinking about it. But Indonesia managing to take that point, Brazil only managed to get up to that 6th point and Indonesia had 3. Now having won 2 picks in a row, looking for that 3rd to bring it to tiebreaker, and it's a whole new ballgame.
For sure. So it's going to be very interesting what they decide to go for. I think we here have basically ruled out the rice picks in terms of bringing Brazil back into the equation, in terms of being able to swing a performance on them. And it really does come down to, can Brazil muster up the team score to prove that they deserve to be in top 4?
Yeah, absolutely. Indonesia having trouble making the pick, but hybrid 2 is it. Rice 4 and Rice 6 stay ignored for this match. Hybrid 2 will be map number 12 in Brazil versus Indonesia. Indonesia trying to guarantee that tiebreaker for themselves. Brazil trying to just end this match as quickly as they can. They really don't want to go to the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think tiebreaker opens up a whole can of worms for everybody involved. And if you are on the side of Brazil, you absolutely want to get out of here as soon as possible without having to throw it up in the air in this situation. So as we wait for everybody to get in here, it looks like it's going to be the same hybrid rosters for both countries. Le Marcinho, Silly Fangirl, Demi-Fiend, SMT going up against Bad HD player Albert and Nisha Labyrinth. Indonesia riding the momentum of 2 back-to-back hybrid wins, looking to make it a clean sweep, 3 for 3 to force the tiebreaker to come out. Brazil looking to stave that off as much as humanly possible. There's 2 minutes separating us between 2 possible outcomes. Let's see how these 2 countries do.
And here we go. All 6 players loaded in. We're getting through this intro. No one finding any major issues. We do see a little bit of accuracy drop from Albert in those Jackson long notes there, but no combo breaks coming out yet. The Brazilians taking a small lead out of that accuracy drop, but 2 breaks traded back between Demi-Fiend and Albert, but that's 2 more breaks from Indonesia. Bad HD player and Albert finding more drops. Brazil taking the lead for the time being, though that accuracy is still quite close, just Albert being a little bit behind the Brazilian players, but Albert not having a good time here.
Yeah, similar to Cold Fusion, where Albert brings up the 98%, but needing to hang on to any semblance of combo that they can to try and lend their support. That is going to be their role for the remainder of this chart, as Nisha Labyrinth and Bad HD player try to pull together a performance. They have higher accuracy than their Brazilian counterparts, both teetering around that 99.7 range. The next closest would be Le Marcinho and Demi-Fiend, as Silly Fangirl brings up that 3rd player position, already into the back half of the chart now. There is a minute standing between us and the end of this chart, and it is 18,000 points in favor of Brazil. We have seen this situation before. It is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, we still have a 20,000 point lead. That could be shifted in an instant if we find a couple breaks on the Brazilian side, especially with some of these more difficult rice patterns that we've seen Brazil have a little bit more struggles on than the Indonesian side. That accuracy is building up from Albert, well above the 99s now. and trying to hold on, but the entire Brazilian team holding on to combo here, all three above 2,000 combo.
There's a quarter of the chart left to go. Here we go back into a bit more of a split hybrid LN section, but Demi finding the break. Highest accuracy for Brazil, still in favor of Le Marcinho for the moment, but Demi finding another break here. We're starting to shrink is 4 digits really the amount of lead.
Patterns. This could be the plays. We can see another swap. Demi Fiend finding some drops, not being very comfortable. It's the lead is shrinking.
Is there enough time?
Not again.
It is hundreds of points. Watch the releases. Watch the releases. Each one is going to matter here. 500 points. It is going to be tiebreaker.
They take it by 500 and bring it to tiebreaker. Oh my goodness.
They can't keep getting away with it.
Again. They did it again.
That is...
There's no way.
Toph, what are we seeing in this finals weekend? 2 matches in, 2 tiebreakers on the board. These teams are inseparable. 500 points, a victory for Brazil. 500 points answered back by the Indonesians when it mattered most.
Oh my goodness. 3 points in a row from Indonesia after Brazil made it to match point to bring it to tiebreaker. 2 matches in a row that we're getting the tiebreaker in the losers bracket. There's only 4 matches total this weekend. We've already half of the 50% of the matches already have had the tiebreaker.
And oh boy, these have been lights out performances from all involved. I said it earlier, the levels these players push each other to, demanding excellence on the draw every single time, and they all seem to find an answer. What a resolute performance from the Indonesians on the brink of elimination. 3 match points to have to deal with, and finding it within themselves to hang on for just enough time. The pressure on Brazil right now, knowing that they were on the cusp of clinching this earlier.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I have no stake in this match. I'm just a commentator. I'm having fun watching a match. I'm shaking so bad. I'm so stressed out right now. I can only imagine how these players are feeling right now.
Oh, I imagine we're shortening lifespans as we speak right now. If they didn't have shaky hands going into this match, they're going to have shaky hands going into this tiebreaker. We're going to see some substitutions come out here. Demi Fiend is going to check out. Netro is going to come in for what is going to be the most important map of their tournament life.
Absolutely. And this, I can't even speak for this. I could imagine this is going to be really close. Silly Fangirl, an absolute beast at tiebreakers, probably going to be facing off against a bad HD player. And then Albert and Netro, the Rice champions so far. That swap in for both teams when they needed a really good Rice player, looking to just have that physicality to bring it up. And Marcinho and Nisha, the consistency mode on both teams. This is going to be an electric tiebreaker.
Very fitting for what has been a very electrifying match. As we now load in, the MP Star Command has come out. Map 13 of 13. There is no going back now.
Winner of this will move on to face Thailand, who also earlier today emerged victorious from a tiebreaker. The loser eliminated from the Forky Oceania World Cup 2023. All the stakes here. One of these 2 teams will have the opportunity to make it into grand finals, and one of them will go home in a top 6 position.
As we make our way through this introduction, relatively calm, an appetizer for what is to come. This map goes off the rails very quickly, and we have seen players just get absolutely bodied by what is in store. As the buildup comes through, we are going to get into the first drop here. All 6 FCs remaining on the board as we continue on here. Silly Fangirl going to be the first one to find the drop here. Not traded back by Indonesia, going to give him the tiniest bit of an advantage to work with, but there's still plenty of chart to chew through here.
Definitely is the early 420 BPM streams coming out, not causing any issues for anyone. The mini jets causing a little bit of accuracy break, but the tiniest lead coming into Indonesia off the break from Silly Fangirl there as they get back up to the 400. So we're getting max score from everyone here, but that's a miss immediately from Nisha Labyrinth, traded back by Netro, and Bad HD Player trades it as well too. Full combos gone from both sides. One remaining. Marcinho and Albert holding on. The lead is nothing. That HD Player finds another break, and Brazil might just take a tiny lead off of that as we get into a little bit of a tamer section here.
And when all is said and done after that grueling section, like you were saying, we get into a bit of a break section here. It is only 1,000 points. It is less than 1,000 points separating these two countries at the moment. It is off the back of the overall accuracies, and Netro finds a massive drop, but it's traded back by Bad HD Player Silly Fangirl.
Lead is just barely in. Oh, but Marcinho just. What is that? The most unfortunate break right before they get time to breathe. Albert, the final full combo remaining. A 4,000 point lead for Indonesia as we start to get into some more of the brutal long notes. Albert breaks though in that. No full combos left on the board as we get into this first KI section. And that lead is shrinking just barely. All 400 combos back up on the board as Albert hits it, but Netro trades a miss right back there as soon as Albert hits it, but it's traded back by Nisha, and 2 misses, 2 combos to 2 right now as those 2 players are having a lot of trouble maintaining their composure in this section.
Yeah, but it is still 7,000 points in favor of the Indonesians right now as Silly Fangirl finds another break, but it's traded back immediately by Bad HD Player. It feels like for every time one person drops, another player on the other side finds a response in spades, and it is Bad HD Player finding that second one in favor of the Brazilians for the moment, but it is still 8,000 points in favor of Indonesia. 2 players in a 98% mark as Marcinho finds drop going into the back half of the chart. Now 3 minutes left to go for both of these teams.
Yeah, we have a little bit of an easier section, but we're about to hit a huge Jack section. We did not see the core Jack map in this match Conflict, so I don't know what to expect coming out here, but the combo advantage is in favor of Brazil going into it. 2 combos to just 1 as the buildups start. Silly Fangirl trying to make it back. Nisha and Bad HD Player trying to make it back, but that transition catches both Nisha and Bad HD Player off guard. Silly Fangirl is able to hit the 400 and a huge combo advantage right now in this Jack section as Brazil tries to shrink that lead, but Netro trades one of those misses right back.
Yeah, it just seems like on the transitions especially, players are over-focusing, trying to make it through the sections, and as they have to release, they start to find the drops here. There's the eventual trade back from Bad HD Player as we make our way into the last part of the chart. Nisha Labyrinth falls as well. This is Brazil's best opportunity to start to claw back some of this lead, but Netro finding another drop here. Marcinho falls as well. It's up to Silly as there are trades back and forth.
Just 1 combo surviving from each team. Albert and Silly Fangirl, those absolute monster combos coming out, but that is going to favor just barely Indonesia as we're continuing to find so many drops here. The lead's up to 18,000 for Indonesia, but we're continuing to find drop from Nisha. Bad HD Player trying to build it up. Netro trading back that miss. Looks like the stamina might be causing them some issues right now. 20,000 point lead for Indonesia, but there's a big long note section coming up. Albert and Nisha trade the misses back. Combo advantage in favor of Brazil as we get closer to this long note section that could favor Brazil and help bring them back into this match. But they have a lot of ground to make up here as Marcinho and Netro both dropping that transition into this section.
Yeah, and the one thing that is really keeping Indonesia afloat right now is the fact that 2 of their players are still keeping their heads above that 99% mark. All 3 players from the side of Brazil just under it for the moment, and even with all these trades back and forth, everybody finding some semblance of difficulty with this intense LN section. It is still Indonesia growing their lead going into the last quarter of the chart now, 30,000 points in their favor. It is going to take a Herculean effort from the Brazilians to try and claw anything back from this now.
Indeed, we get a big break. Silly Fangirl and Nisha Labyrinth both dropping right before the break. Two players on each side will be above the 400 combo, at least before we get into this final section where the brutality kicks it up to 12. But there is quite a significant long note requirement. We've seen Brazil do quite well And this is going to be all about the composure coming into this ending. If their stamina holds up, if their physicality holds up, if their long note ability holds up. Everyone above the 400 combo going into this ending. Marcino Albert trade right away. Necro, Nisha, Labyrinth, HD player. Only Silly Fangirl left remaining with the combo, but it's still a 30,000 point advantage for the side of Indonesia right now. And it looks like they might just be able to take this. They can hold their composure. All the combos back up again. Marcino trades with HD player. And this ending, it looks like that might be all they wrote. Everyone finding combo breaks.
Yeah, there are explosions all over the place. They have all crossed that 900,000 point threshold, and through the last major gauntlet, it is going to be Indonesia booking their place into the top 4 and booking themselves a date with Thailand for a shot at that losers grand finals, a score of 6-7.
Absolutely unbelievable match from all of these players. I can't breathe anymore.
I was on the edge of my seat that entire time. There was such fine margins to walk throughout this entire match, and Indonesia needed to get 4 points in a row to win this match. Mission accomplished. 4 for 4, knocking the perennial podium finishers in Brazil out of the Mania 4 Key World Cup in a top 6 position. Congratulations to them. That was a hard-earned victory.
Absolutely. Like you said, it gives them an opportunity, it gives Indonesia an opportunity to play against Thailand for that podium spot. And with that, we now have guaranteed a new podium finisher for the Osumania 4 Key World Cup. Thailand and Indonesia both never having made it into a top 3 position in the 4 Key World Cup. Now, one of them guaranteed to take that spot in what is absolutely, no doubt in my mind, going to be an absolutely unbelievable match.
Absolutely, but that will do it for us here. 2 matches down, 2 to go in this finals weekend. But Toph, I hear a last call bell ringing. I think there's only a few more opportunities for us to do this. Why don't you tell the player? Why don't you tell the people watching?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take this for a spin. We've got something in the store that I think you guys will want to buy to support your teams. We've got banners ready to sell. We've got 4 teams left in the Osumania 4 Key World Cup. We've got Thailand, we've got Indonesia, we've got the United States, and we've got South Korea. One of those teams will come victorious if you buy a banner for one of those teams and they end up winning. You get to keep your banner for an extra amount of time after the tournament finishes, but you can still buy banners for any of the 32 teams that made it into the bracket stage, even if they're one of the 28 teams that were knocked out. Just support your favorite team so you can support this tournament. And with that, 2 matches left. We've got our winners bracket, United States versus South Korea, to determine who gets that guaranteed spot in the grand finals 9 hours from now. And then the final losers bracket match of finals, Thailand and Indonesia, to determine who gets that top 3 spot to join the United States and South Korea. It's going to be an insane Sunday. Do you have anything left to say before we sign off?
I will say this is your last opportunity to buy banners to support your favorite teams. Once we hit Grand Finals weekend, you will no longer be able to purchase one, so please get them in. If you've been on the fence about getting one, it's only $250 USD. But until then, we'll catch you guys later.
It's a beautiful place.